What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of The Jump. We're going to get straight into it. Hail to the victors. Obviously, when this is being posted, it'd be 2 days ago. The Michigan Wolverines are the 2023-2024 college football national champions. So, a little bit about the game. Obviously, had the two best teams in the country. Number 1, Michigan versus number 2, Washington. And the Wolverines got it done in dominant fashion, 34-13. It was a little better than the score indicates, but overall, a dominating performance for Michigan there. And it started early. Michigan, straight off rip, got the run game going. First drive, Donovan Edwards, one of the longest touchdown runs in college football playoff history. And then they come back second drive with the same thing. They end up going up 17-3. Established the run game early, like I said, and I mean that's kind of the story of the game. At halftime, I believe they had over 200 rushing yards already, which was unreal. And that was kind of the story of that one. And I think it ended up getting 17-10 at half. So Washington was able to score right there before the end of the half to kind of give some momentum. The momentum didn't necessarily carry over. The momentum definitely leaned Washington at the end of the first half, and then coming out, first play of the second half, Will Johnson makes an amazing pick. I think it was, I want to say Mason Graham that hit Michael Penix on the throw that made it a little wobbly, made it a little short, and then Will Johnson makes a spectacular play to come down with the pick there. And it was really a game changer, honestly. Throughout the game, just missed throws by Michael Penix, very unlike him. And one huge one that was very, very obvious. In the first half, Kalen DeBoer decided to go for it on 4th and 1, and Rome Odunze couldn't be more open, and he misses him on that throw. So those are what you're going to need in a national championship. I mean, that's pretty obvious. But then even late in the game, it was a pretty controversial call. The right tackle saying he was holding. I think it was like around 12 minutes left in the game. It was a 32-yard completion to Odunze again, and they call it back for holding on the right tackle. Which, I mean, some people were saying if the jerseys were flipped, they wouldn't have called that. I think you can't put yourself in that situation where that can be called, and you don't worry about that. But that would have been an absolutely game-changing play if they would have been able to complete that one. So that negated that 32-yard gain right there. But yeah, I mean, the story of the game is, by the end of it, Michael Penix Jr. could barely even stand up with how bad he was hurting. I mean, his ribs, he had rib protectors on, and it was still holding his ribs, could barely stand up, could barely walk. And shout out to Jesse Minter for that, because going into it, he said, whether we're getting sacks, whether it's going on the stat sheet, we just want to make him uncomfortable. And they did that. I honestly thought Texas had a defensive front that could face off with this Michigan team. I thought they were both very, very elite, two of the best in the country, but Michigan's proved to be a lot more dominant. Kenneth Graham, Mason Graham, those guys are just some dogs, and they completely altered Washington's game plan, and that was kind of the story of it. It all ended with the Mike Sainristil nearly pick six with like 4.5 minutes left. It was a 27-13 game whenever that happened, and Michael Penix kind of sailed one, and Sainristil took advantage of it. And one of the greatest careers ever, by the way. I didn't realize he had played 33 games as a wide receiver at Michigan, and then now, I mean, I love his game. I watched a lot of him this year, and he's just fun to watch. He's him and Will Johnson together are one crazy duo that the Wolverines have. But first Big Ten national champion since 2015, and Michigan's first title since '97, and their first outright title since the Truman administration. So it's been a minute, but. Shout out to the Wolverines. What a game plan offensively by Sharon Moore and by Mentor defensively. So they did everything that you could ask for. And they go 15-0. They pop up the graphic at the end of the game, whatever. They were the sixth team to ever go 15-0. I'm saying they're the fourth team ever because two of them were like when Jesus was a small child still. So I'm going to go with they're the fourth team ever. It was the 2018 Clemson, 2019 LSU, last year's Georgia, and then this year's Michigan. So it's impressive. They were just dominant all year, and I think you kind of got to hold off on the they cheated to get there because like their hardest stretch of the season they lost their head coach, and they're still able to win an Natty. So I don't know. It's a tough look if you're trying to hate against them, really. But I mean, yeah, Michigan was just dominant all year. This season though, Michigan only had 5 offensive turnovers all season. They took care of it. They only had 45 penalties all season also. So, just textbook football. Every coach's dream, really. And Michigan is also the first national champion to lead at halftime of every single game since Miami in 2001. Shout out to Cole Kubelik for that stat there. But, yeah, they were just dominant all year. The thing that's crazy, though, is the people that are already on social media talking about this team playing the 2019 LSU team. That game would have gotten ugly. 2019 LSU would dominate. We'll just leave it at that. This team is very good. We're not going to take that away from them. Very good football team. Very good season. Historic year. But that 2019 LSU team would have a heyday with this team. So Blake Corum won the Offensive Player of the Game. 21 rushes, 134 yards, 2 touchdowns. It felt like everybody knew going into it that he was going to get multiple touchdowns. It was just kind of the thing. And that those two ended up breaking the school record, I believe, for rushing touchdowns in a season. And maybe a career, or maybe it's just one of those. But historic season, historic career for Blake Corum. He came back. All-time quote at the end also in his interview when he said, at the beginning of the year, we said we came back to finish business that was unfinished or whatever. And then he said, business is finished. Little mic drop moment for Blake Corum. So shout out to him. And Will Johnson, as I mentioned earlier, had the pick coming out of half. Defensive player of the game. He had 4 tackles to go along with that pick. And, yeah, I mean, it was a great game for him. They could have gone to a couple different guys, but, yeah, I mean, well deserved there. As I mentioned, the rushing yards for Michigan was outstanding. 303 rushing yards, most in any BCS or college football playoff national championship game. And they also had more rushing yards than Washington had yards total, which is wild. And I'm looking at the numbers now. I didn't realize Michael Penix threw it 51 times, and he was held to 255 yards. And almost at a third pick, he threw 2. So yeah, that Michigan defense is unreal. But the Chrysler Center, for those of y'all that aren't familiar for it or with it, that's Michigan's basketball arena. If y'all haven't seen it, y'all got to go look it up. After the game, when they were celebrating, they were just jumping. It was awesome. The whole court, they stormed the court. I guess they had the game on the big screen when they were watching it, and for those of y'all that don't know the tradition, Michigan fans sing Mr. Brightside. I don't know if there's a certain time frame in the game that they sing it as home games, but they played it in the Chrysler Center last night, and they were just singing their hearts out. It was awesome. It was an amazing thing to see. So shout out to the Michigan fans who were at the Chrysler Center last night. It was just a great sighting. Go check that video out if you haven't seen it. But it would be wrong to not give credit to Washington for what they accomplished this year. They went 14-1 and just came up a little bit short. But it was the last season of Pac-12 ever. So they gave us something very, very memorable, playing for the national championship in the last year. And Michael Penix Jr., man, what a career. It was sad to see him walking off the field the way that he was. But, I mean, somebody's got to lose, and it just happened to be MPJ there at the end. But shout out, I can't remember the name of the player that went up to him in the tunnel to go make sure to tap him up. And, yeah, it was an amazing run for the Washington Huskies and Kalen DeBoer. Just a winning program. And I did see Will Rogers was on the sideline, Mississippi State transfer. That's going to be so exciting. I didn't forget about it, but when they showed him on the sideline throwing, I acted like a little kid. I was like, this is going to be so awesome. I'm so excited to see Will Rogers for Washington next year. And we also get this rematch in Husky Stadium in this upcoming fall. So we'll get this rematch of the Natty. It'll be a lot different teams, a lot gone from both teams, but it'll still be a cool little matchup in the fall. So keeping it college football, the transfer portal has been active. It hasn't been as insane as it is like as soon as it opens up, but there's been big names moving. First of all, Quinshon Judkins entered the portal, which I was absolutely shocked by. I thought it was a fake report on Twitter when it happened, and then it gets announced by Pete Nakos, and yeah, I was absolutely stunned when he announced this because, I mean, he was like the best running back in the SEC last year outside of Cody Schrader, but I was just, I mean, he's going to be, he would have been the starter at Ole Miss next year, and they had all this like success under him. He fit their offense perfectly. It was kind of him and Ulysses Bentley the fourth, and like those guys were just a dynamic duo. But he enters the portal, and he commits to the Ohio State University. And in my opinion, the Buckeyes now have the best running back room in the country. With Travion Henderson and Quinshon Judkins, I'd like to see one try to compete with that because that room is wild. It's a crazy room. Also, to Ohio State, Will Howard. He commits to the Ohio State Buckeyes. His first quote, once he became a Buckeye, beating that team up north is priority number one on the way to the national championship. He's got it right. He gets it. Not a lot of people were very happy with this move. I know a lot of Ohio State fans either love the move or they talk themselves into loving the move. But I'm not familiar with this guy, Barrett Sallee. He's got a lot of followers on TikTok or on Twitter. I saw this tweet, and y'all have to hear it. He said Ohio State going from Kyle McCord to Will Howard is kind of like choosing a Chipotle burrito over a Moe's burrito. It's fresh, but it's essentially the same thing. That's one way to put it. That's also one way to say that you've never watched Will Howard play football, because the upside of Will Howard and what could be is a lot higher than what Kyle McCord had to offer. I mean, that's just from the eye test that I have, from watching both of those quarterbacks multiple times this past season and just over the years, like when Kyle McCord has come in and watching Will Howard. I think it's a great move. And, I mean, this is the first time, really, that I feel like Ohio State has hit the portal big for big names, getting Quinshon Judkins and Will Howard. So we'll see how that goes. And then, lastly, Malachi Nelson commits to Boise State, former number one recruit in the class of 23. This was shocking to me. I guess it's partially maybe he's just not as good as people thought he was going to be, because, I mean, it was his job to lose until Miller Moss came in that bowl game and then absolutely balled out. But they might be getting a transfer or something. I don't know. I don't know where USC's headed with that, but Boise State, I mean, that's pretty awesome. I'm failing to remember the name of the head coach for Boise State, but I know the guys love him. So, I mean, maybe it'll be cool. I will watch some Boise State football next year. I love Malachi Nelson. I loved him in high school, so I'll definitely have to check that out a lot next year. Keeping it football, NFL playoffs are now set. So the wild card, Browns at Texans, Saturday at 4:30. This is going to be awesome. Like, this is, I don't know. I mean, the Texans getting here was super cool. The way that they had to do it, and I mean, them beating the Colts on their home field. C.J. Stroud playing the way he did, Like, I love C.J. Stroud, by the way, one of my favorite young players, and especially you can tell by his interview after those games. Great dude. But yeah, and I mean, for the Browns, it was kind of a coast week. They took an L to the Bengals, but it didn't really matter. But Saturday at 4:30, it's going down. I mean, if I had to make a pick, it's tough to go against the hot team, the Texans, and I mean, that Browns defense could absolutely have C.J. Stroud in jail all day. But I'm just sticking with the Texans. I'm riding with the hot hand right now. Then Saturday at 8, Dolphins at Chiefs. This has the potential to be one of the coldest football games ever played, which is wild. I'm just going to stick with the Chiefs. I feel like if you go against Patrick Mahomes, you have to be a Dolphins fan, or you got to know something. And I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm the greatest NFL expert of all time. I think it's just stupid to try to go against the guy, number 15, in the red uniform in Arrowhead on Saturday. Then Steelers at Bills. The T.J. Watt not playing for the Steelers. So that kind of sucks. That's literally worth like 3 points in my opinion. So I'll go Bills in that one. That's Sunday at 1 o'clock, and I think the Bills kind of just coast. And they ended up winning the AFC East, which is one of the craziest things of all time, considering where they were sitting halfway through the season. And it looked like they were not even going to make the playoffs. They really had no room for error down the stretch, and then they completed that. So I think they have like the third highest odds to win the Super Bowl now, which is wild. But shout out to Bills. I got them at home at Highmark getting the dub. Packers at Cowboys. The rematch of the Dez caught it. Taking Cowboys at home, it's tough to go against the Cowboys at home. Like Sunday at 4:30, the Cowboys will roll. I feel like that's just my thought. But it's the Cowboys. I don't know. Maybe they just lose first round. Maybe it's just the thing that they do. Sunday, 8 o'clock, Rams at Lions. A little Matthew Stafford, Jared Goff, the storylines. This one is awesome, but I would really, really, really feel bad for Lions fans if Matthew Stafford comes in and beats them. I would feel awful. So Sunday at 8 o'clock, I got the Lions winning. Just in hopes that the Lions fans don't have to suffer anymore. I at this point, I feel bad. They've had this good year. I know a few Lions fans that they're eating it up, and I'm here to pick their team to continue on. It's a great story. Love Dan Campbell. Love all those guys up there with the Lions. And then Eagles at Buccaneers. The Eagles had an absolute collapse of a season, just like the Dolphins did. But at the Buccaneers, they're like a 3-point favorite, I think. Monday night, it seems like Soriano has lost the locker room, and it looks like there's going to be a coaching haul out in the offseason. So, I don't know. Maybe it's like do or die right now. They're going to go all the way, or if they lose first round, everybody's fired. I don't know. But I'll go with the Eagles just to trust that like they were kind of coasting and waiting for the playoffs when it really matters. I mean, they started 10-1 and then collapsed. But I'll take the Eagles in that one. And then, so that's my picks. To round them up, Texans, Chiefs, Bills, Cowboys, Lions, Eagles. I just realized I took 5 home teams, and then the Eagles are the only road team I took. But I don't know NFL like I'm not going to act like I'm a genius with it. But that's my picks, and I feel pretty confident in them. I don't know the spread for all of those, but I think the Chiefs will win big. I think the Cowboys will win big, and I think the Eagles will scrape out a W on Monday. So those big games coming up. Keeping it NFL, some of the headlines over the week. The AFC North is the first division since 1935 to have every team in the division finish above 500, which is crazy. And it's crazier to think 3 of the 4 teams lost their starting QB, which makes it an even crazier stat. Lamar's literally the only one that's been able to stay the whole year. So, I'm just shocked the AFC North didn't do it before, but I guess the Browns were just so bad that they just couldn't. I guess that kind of brought down the conference. But it's a very AFC North thing to do. All above 500. Shout out to AFC North. First since 1935 for that stat. Then Jameis Winston. It was controversial. Jameis Winston, man, the GOAT. Jameis is amazing. But it was a very controversial play over the weekend. For those of y'all that didn't see it, the Saints picked off the Falcons and had ran it back to the 1. And then Dennis Allen has the boys go out there. Jameis, Jamal Williams, all of them go out there to go kneel it. They go to kneel it. They fake the kneel, hand it off to Jamal Williams, gets the touchdown. The context is Jamal Williams worked hard, kind of got his position changed, got hurt. All this stuff had happened. He was amazing last year, and then there was a huge drop-off. They wanted to get the guy a touchdown, and so they went against what the coach said, which is never a good sign. And they got him a touchdown. But then Arthur Smith was heated in the end. So y'all comment and let me know what y'all's point of view of that is. But I don't really see an issue. The only issue I see with it is the fact that they lined up in a victory formation to kneel it. And then they fake it to do that. But honestly, if they would have tried to run a play, then maybe Dennis Allen would have called a timeout and been like, yo, what are y'all doing? So, I don't know. It's tough. It's a tough look. But I think it's crazy for Shannon Sharp to say I would cut Jameis Winston immediately. I think Unk is a little wrong on that one, but I don't know, maybe. It's a tough spot for Dennis Allen. But speaking of Arthur Smith, he got fired the next day. So tough 24 hours for the men. Falcons fired Arthur Smith, I think, the next morning. So yeah, it was rough for him. The Commanders also fired Ron Rivera, and then the Titans today, or yesterday when you all were watching this, fired Mike Vrabel. I was kind of shocked by it. There was rumors about it. I didn't think it would happen though. It was back-to-back losing seasons, and maybe the way that the owners want the offense to go and the trajectory of the team, maybe they're just wanting something different. I don't know, but yeah, Mike Vrabel fired. He'll pick up another job real quick. I'm pretty confident of that. I don't think that'll take too long for him. So college basketball has been amazing. College basketball is a tough topic to just figure out, like certain areas to talk about on the podcast, but I'll section it out by like different teams. So first team I want to talk about, Seton Hall. Shaheen Holloway, obviously he's known for the St. Peter's thing. I think this is his second year at Seton Hall, his alma mater. He's got them boys playing good. They've now beaten Marquette, UConn, and Providence in conference, and Georgetown now. They're 4-1 in conference, but they're one of the hottest teams in America. Like, Shaheen Holloway is coaching amazing, and it's a insanely tough home environment because the fans are back and like they're like excited about Seton Hall basketball. But I know that John Rothstein, when he tweets about it, he says Shaheen Holloway, the people's coach, and that might be the thing. I mean, Seton Hall is like they're fun to watch. They're a very fun team to watch, and like I hate to watch them because the Shaheen Holloway thing, coach at St. Peter's, whatever. I hate to see that guy, like flashbacks. But yeah, as a Kentucky fan, I'll get over the St. Peter's thing because he is a fun coach and fun to watch. Love watching Seton Hall play, and they're a team to watch out for in the Big East. So they're in position to be in position, is what I heard somebody say, for when it gets to March. For my team, Kentucky, we had selfishly the best win of the past week since I've done a podcast last. We went down to Florida. It was a battle the whole time. They were a 3.5-point favorite. And for those of y'all that didn't watch the game, there's an Aaron Bradshaw stretch, a sequence where it's like 140-ish. He blocks a shot, and then the next play we go down and he hits a three-pointer at 7'1", 7'2", something like that. And it was electric. Like that shot that he hit will be in like that's going to be in so many videos going forward. Like that shot was amazing. And he's shooting like 60% from three on the year, which is crazy. It might have dropped tonight. We played Missouri, but yeah, no, it's amazing what Aaron Bradshaw's doing since he got back. 6 straight wins in Gainesville, though. That's just an insane stat. It's a tough place to play, but like we're just getting it done. I don't know how. Like even the COVID team won down there. Last year's team battled down there. We won, I'm pretty sure, pretty easily. But yeah, we won 87-85, high-scoring game. Reed Shepard clutches up at the end. Like it was awesome. And then tonight, as I mentioned, we played Missouri. We won 90-77. This game was literally 7 to 10 points the entire time. We led by that, and for some reason, I was never in doubt. Like all it would have taken was like one little run from Missouri, and they would have won the game. But it just never and it never happened. But it never felt like it was gonna happen. So that was another awesome one. 2-0 in the SEC, 12-2 overall. Auburn basketball. So they won at Arkansas, 83-51 on Saturday. The biggest loss at home in Arkansas history. It's insane. Like they dominated. I expected Auburn to go in there and win. Like people had picked an upset. Arkansas is not good right now. I heard Jimmy Dykes put it this way: the Must Bus has a flat tire. They're gonna have to figure out one way to get that thing rolling again because getting into conference play, it's not gonna get any easier. And I mean, Auburn, man, they've been unreal. And 7 straight wins. That one was the 7th. 7 straight by 15 plus. Tied for their longest streak since 1932-33 season, which is unreal. We're sitting 90 years since Auburn's been this dominant for this long of a stretch. They're currently playing Texas A&M at home, who had a bad loss over the weekend, to LSU. At halftime, it is 30-22. Auburn up 8 at home. So we'll see if their streak continues a 15-plus point margin and wins. But, shout out to Auburn. Bruce Pearl. The thing that drives me crazy is, as a Kentucky fan, when we have to go there, they're always just elite. So it makes it where it'd be an insane win if we get it. But, when they play us at home, when they come to Rupp, they're just terrible. It drives me insane because you can't pick up a huge home win. But we would have won down there 2 years ago if Tata didn't get hurt. So here's our next chance to prove it. And they're another fun team just to watch. I love Aiden Holloway, Trey Donaldson. I can't stand KD Johnson still, but Janai Broome with him returning, that team is fun. They're a fun team. So Auburn basketball, man, they're balling. Tonight we had 12-2 Cincinnati hosting number 25 Texas, who ends up beating Cincinnati. So Cincinnati is now 12-3 after Max Abmas silences the 5-1-3. So he hits a kind of a buzzer beater. There was 6 seconds left, and then Texas played decent defense after that. But a short corner shot, silencer. It was amazing. Max Abmas, clutch. No other way to put it. But Wes Miller's got Cincinnati balling right now. And I think it's his 3rd year there, and they're looking dangerous in the Big 12. Tonight was their first Big 12 conference game with them in the conference. So a lot more opportunity for them. But they're another team to watch out for. I can see them upsetting a lot of teams, especially at home. Cincinnati's got a decent home court advantage in Cincinnati, but they're just fun. And I don't remember who won the crosstown rivalry between them and Xavier, but that game was always electric. That was a couple weeks ago. Let me fact check that one. But for those of y'all that don't know about that rivalry, that is one of the best rivalries in college sports, in sports in general. Xavier won that one by 5. It was at Xavier. But, yeah, Cincinnati basketball between Cincinnati and Xavier is amazing. It's fun to watch. And then James Madison had already lost. Ole Miss lost over the weekend, got throttled at Tennessee for their first loss. So the last undefeated team was Houston. And I say was because they lost their first game of the season tonight at Iowa State. I would be lying if I said I knew how to pronounce the kid's name that hit that shot with 30 seconds left. A fadeaway from a double team as a true freshman. That's bold. And they pronounced it on the broadcast, but I have no clue how they pronounced it. So shout out to him. Wish I could give him an actual shout out. I can do my absolute best to try to get that right. It was a true freshman. They win 57-53 in regulation. And, it is Milan Momcilovic. I'm going to go with that. Shout out to him. He hit a shot late. Played 37 minutes. Dude's a baller, just a hooper. And, they get it done. So, shout out to him. And shout out to Iowa State for that. So, no unbeatens anymore in college basketball. And, so other than that, TCU should have upset Kansas over the weekend in Allen Fieldhouse. They kind of got some calls late, as Kansas usually does at home. But, it's been amazing as conference play has started up. So, thank you all for tuning in. Once again, shout out to Michigan for getting over that hump and getting in the national championship. Jim Harbaugh's probably gone. I don't know anything. Obviously, I don't have a source, But I'm just going to assume he's gone. There's no better way to go out than winning a national championship at your alma mater. But maybe the Chargers. Maybe he goes to the Chargers and gets it done there. So thank you all for tuning in once again. Leave some comments on this for what you all would like me to go over. As we speak, also, Purdue is down 11 at Nebraska. The game is on Peacock, so I have not watched a second of it. I will not be paying for that. The guy, I can't remember how to say his name. I think his last name is Tominaga for Nebraska, is an absolute hooper. Love watching that guy. I've watched a lot of his highlights. I watched one of Nebraska's games earlier this year. But yeah, maybe Purdue on upset watch. I don't know. But yeah, so leave some comments on what else you all want me to talk about. It's mainly football, basketball, but I watch some other sports as well. Like baseball, it's off season, but I pay attention to it. Golf. I will be at the PGA Championship in the spring in Louisville, Kentucky at Valhalla. So talk anything here. So once again, hail to the victors. Shout out to Michigan. Shout out to Michael Penix. Shout out to all of them guys for an incredible season. And y'all have a great rest of the week. Enjoy some wild card football this weekend. And peace.